You know that feeling when your heart skips a beat? When something happens that changes everything in just one moment? Well, that's exactly what happened to me on my 64th birthday. And today, I'm finally brave enough to tell you this story. I never imagined I would share this with anyone, but here I am, ready to tell you about the most secret, forbidden, and complicated night of my entire life. It was a night that turned my world upside down. That special day, the day everything changed. Forever, I thought it would just be another lonely birthday. I was wrong. So very wrong. The beginning of everything let me start from the very beginning. To understand how deep this story goes. Edward was Jonathan's stepson, a late husband's boy, now grown into a 28-year-old man. He was confident, strong-willed, and had this way of looking at you that could make your knees weak. From the very first time I saw him, there was something special about Edward. When Jonathan died, Edward used to come by often. Sometimes he would stay with me for days at a time. We would talk, laugh, and share quiet moments together. But then, 2 years ago, he just vanished. No goodbye, no explanation. He simply disappeared from my life. During those long months without him, I tried so hard to forget. I pushed away every memory we had made together. I told myself it was better, this way. But deep down in the quiet corners of my heart, those moments stayed alive. They burned bright no matter how hard I tried to put them out. And then that day came, the day that changed everything. His unexpected return. I was sitting in my kitchen, drinking my morning coffee, when I heard a knock at the door. My heart did a little jump. Nobody ever visited me anymore. When I opened the door, there he was, Edward. He stood there with that same smile I remembered, holding some papers in his hands. "Hi, Bella," he said softly. "I hope you don't mind me stopping by. I need to look for some old documents in the garage." But I knew right away that those papers weren't the real reason he was there. The way he looked at me, the way his eyes seemed to search my face, it was the same look from before. The one that made my stomach flutter and my hands shake. "Of course," I managed to say, stepping aside to let him in. "Do you know where everything is?" As he walked past me, I caught a hint of his cologne. It was the same one he always wore, and it brought back a flood of memories I had tried so hard to forget. Edward went to the garage. I tried to busy myself in the kitchen, but I kept glancing toward the back door, wondering what he was really doing out there. After about an hour, he came back inside. "Find what you were looking for?" I asked, trying to sound casual. He smiled and held up some papers. "Yes, these old insurance documents." But then his expression changed, became more serious. "Bella, there's something else." My heart started beating faster. "What is it?" "Come with me to the garage for a minute. There's something I want to show you." I followed him outside, my mind racing with questions. That's when I saw it. The beautiful surprise there, sitting in the corner of my garage, was the most beautiful gramophone I had ever seen. It was vintage, with gleaming brass details and a rich wooden case. Next to it was a small stack of records. "Edward," I whispered, my hand flying to my chest. "Where did this come from?" He was watching my face carefully, a small smile playing at the corners of his mouth. "Do you remember telling Jonathan about this? Years ago, you mentioned how much you loved the old music, how you wished you had one of these to play your favorite songs." I did remember. It was just a passing comment. Something I had said while we were cleaning out his mother's attic. "I never thought anyone was really listening. Do you remember that?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "I remember everything you say, Bella." His voice was soft, but there was something deeper in his tone that made me look at him more closely. He walked over to the gramophone and carefully placed a record on it. As the needle touched the vinyl, the most beautiful melody began to fill the garage. It was my absolute favorite song, one I used to hum while doing dishes, one that always made me feel young again. "How did you know?" I asked, tears starting to form in my eyes. Edward stepped closer to me. "'Cause I pay attention to you. I always have." The way he said it, the way he was looking at me, it made something flutter deep in my chest. Something I had thought was long dead. He left after that, but not before promising to come back later. I spent the rest of the afternoon in a daze, replaying every moment of his visit, trying to understand what was happening. The evening that changed everything as the sun began to set, I heard another knock at my door. When I opened it, there was Edward again, but this time was different. He was dressed in a beautiful dark suit that fit him perfectly. His hair was styled just right, and he was holding a small, elegant cake with candles on top. But it was his smile that took my breath away. It was warm, confident, and full of something I couldn't quite name. "Happy birthday, Bella," he said, his voice sending shivers down my spine. I had completely forgotten it was my birthday. With everything that had happened during the day, it had slipped my mind entirely. "You remembered," I said, feeling my cheeks grow warm. Of course I remembered. "I couldn't let you spend your 64th birthday alone." He stepped closer, and I could smell his cologne again. "May I come in?" I nodded, stepping aside to let him pass. He walked to my coffee table and set down the cake, then turned back to me with that incredible smile. "Bella," he said, his voice gentle but somehow intense at the same time. "Tonight should be special. You deserve to be celebrated properly." Felt my heart start to race? There was something in his tone, something in the way he was looking at me that made me feel like a young woman again. "What do you mean?" I asked, though I wasn't sure I was ready for the answer. Edward took a step closer to me. "I mean, you should put on something beautiful, and let me show you how a woman like you should be treated on her birthday." My breath caught in my throat. "Edward, I don't think, please." "Bella," he said softly, "just trust me. Go upstairs and put on that black dress I know you have hanging in your closet. The one you never wear anymore." How did he know about that dress? I had bought it years ago, but never found the right occasion to wear it. It was elegant, sophisticated, the kind of dress that made a woman feel powerful and beautiful. I notice everything about you, Bella. Everything." His eyes were so intense, so focused on me, that I felt like I might melt right there on the spot. Against my better judgment, I found myself nodding. "Okay," I whispered. "Give me a few minutes." The transformation I climbed the stairs slowly, my heart pounding with each step. What was I doing? This was Edward Jonathan's stepson. This was wrong, wasn't it? But as I reached my bedroom and opened my closet, I couldn't deny the excitement that was building inside me. I pulled out the black dress and held it up to myself. In the mirror, when was the last time someone had made me feel this way? When was the last time I had felt truly alive? I began to undress slowly, catching glimpses of myself in the mirror as I did. At 64, my body wasn't what it used to be, but I had taken care of myself. My skin was still soft, my figure still had its curves. I ran my hands along my waist and smiled at my reflection. "You're still beautiful, Bella," I whispered to myself. I slipped the dress on and it fit perfectly. The fabric hugged my body in all the right places, and the color made my skin glow. I did my hair, put on a little makeup, and added the pearl necklace Jonathan had given me for our anniversary. When I looked in the mirror, I barely recognized myself. I looked elegant, sophisticated, and yes, beautiful. The evening unfolds as I made my way downstairs. I could hear music playing softly in the living room. It's the same song from the gramophone in the garage. Edward had brought it inside. When I reached the bottom of the stairs, Edward looked up and his face lit up with admiration. His eyes traveled from my face down to my dress and back up again, and I saw something in his expression that made my pulse quicken. "Bella," he breathed, "you look absolutely stunning." I felt my cheeks flush with warmth. "Thank you," I said softly. He had set up the living room beautifully. Candles were lit throughout the room, casting a warm, romantic glow. The gramophone sat in the center, playing that beautiful melody. He'd even moved some furniture to create more space. "Oh, how did you know that song was my favorite?" I asked as he walked toward me. Edward smiled. That same mysterious smile from earlier. I told you I listened to everything you say. You used to hum it while you were cooking. You would get this dreamy look on your face, like the music was taking you somewhere special. I was amazed. All those little moments I thought no one noticed. He had been paying attention to every single one. Would you like to dance? He asked, extending his hand toward me. I hesitated for just a moment. This felt like crossing a line we could never uncross. But the way he was looking at me, the way the music was filling the room, the way I felt in that beautiful dress, I couldn't say no. I placed my hand in his and he pulled me gently into. His arms stopped the dance that changed everything. Edward was an excellent dancer. He led me around the room with confidence and grace, holding me close but respectfully. As we moved together, I felt years melt away from my body. I felt young, desired, alive. "This is nice," I said softly, looking up into his green eyes. "Perfect," he replied, his voice low and warm. We danced through several songs, neither of us speaking much. But there was so much being said in the silence, in the way he held me, in the way I let him lead, in the way we moved together, like we had been dancing for years. Finally, we sat down on the couch and Edward poured 2 glasses of wine he had brought with him. "To your birthday," he said, raising his glass. "2 unexpected surprises," I replied, clinking my glass against his dot. As we sipped the wine, the conversation began to flow. But this wasn't ordinary small talk. There was an undercurrent of something deeper. Something we had both been avoiding for years. "The confession, Bella," Edward said after we had been talking for a while. "There's something I need to tell you. Something I should have said a long time ago." My heart began to pound. "What is it?" He set down his wine glass and turned to face me fully. His expression was serious, intense. "Do you want to know the real reason I disappeared 2 years ago? Why I stopped coming to see you?" I nodded, not trusting my voice to remain steady. Edward took a deep breath. "I left because I was falling in love with you, Bella, and it scared me to death." The words hit me like a physical blow. I felt my breath catch. My heart skipped several beats. "Edward," I whispered, "you can't say things like that." "I know I can't," he said, leaning forward. "I know it's wrong. I know it's complicated. I know all the reasons why this is impossible. But I can't pretend anymore." He reached out and gently took my hand in his. "For 2 years, I tried to forget you. I traveled, I worked, I even dated other women, but nothing worked. You were always there, in my thoughts, in my dreams." I looked down at our joined hands. His was strong, warm, and it made mine look small and delicate. "This is dangerous territory, Edward," I said quietly. "I know," he replied, "but I also know that you feel it too. This connection between us, it's been there from the beginning, hasn't it?" I couldn't deny it. The attraction, the pull I felt toward him, it had always been there, simmering beneath the surface. I had tried to ignore it, to push it away, but it had never truly gone away. "Yes," I admitted in a whisper. "I feel it too." Edward's eyes lit up with hope and desire. "Then why are we fighting it?" "Because," I said, pulling my hand away from his, "because this is complicated, Edward. You're Jonathan's stepson. You're 28 years old. I'm 64. People would never understand." "I don't care what people think," he said firmly. "Do you?" I was quiet for a long moment, considering his question. Did I care what others would think? Or was I more afraid of my own feelings? "I'm scared," I finally admitted. Edward moved closer to me on the couch. "So am I," he said. "But I'm more scared of living the rest of my life wondering what if." The honesty in his voice, the vulnerability. In his eyes, it broke down every wall I had built around my heart. "What are you asking me, Edward?" I said, my voice barely above a whisper. He reached up and gently touched my cheek. "I'm asking you to give us a chance, Bella. I'm asking you to let yourself feel what I know is in your heart." The point of no return as Edward's hand caressed my face. I felt something inside me break open. All the feelings I had suppressed, all the desires I had denied, came rushing to the surface. "If we do this," I said, looking directly into his eyes, "there's no going back. Everything will change." "I know," he said. "I want everything to change." It's the certainty in his voice. The way he was looking at me like I was the most precious thing in the world. It was overwhelming. "Edward," I whispered, "I haven't felt this way in so long. You make me feel alive again." He smiled, that beautiful smile that had captured my heart from the very beginning. "You make me feel like I'm home, Bella. Like I've finally found where I belong." As he leaned closer to me, I realized that this was the moment. The moment where I had to decide, would I listen to my head or would I follow my heart? The music was still playing softly in the background. The candles flickered, casting dancing shadows on the walls. Edward's face was so close to mine that I could feel his breath on my skin. "Thank you," I said softly, "for not letting me spend this birthday alone." "Thank you," he replied, "for letting me into your heart." And in that moment, I knew that whatever happened next, this night would change both of our lives forever. Slowly reached out, placing his fingers over mine, his touch shattered every logical barrier I had built. "I don't want to turn back, Bella." He said, "I just want to live this moment with you, to show you how I feel, to tell you how special you are to me." Tears welled up in my eyes, but these feelings didn't break. They freed something deep inside. His words were an admission of a passion he had kept locked away for too long. "When I look at you," he continued, his voice soft yet intense, "I don't just saboti. I see strength, passion, and a joy for life. You think you're 64, but Tama Will's been the youngest, most captivating woman, and those feelings they'll never change." His words broke through the last of my resistance. I took a deep breath and looked at him. "Edward," I said, my voice trembling but leaning toward him, "you see me in a way I haven't felt in years, and I can't deny that the silence that followed was heavy, yet it said everything." We just looked at each other, and in that quiet, every unspoken truth was revealed. The forbidden pull between us had become undeniable or vabables when Edward's lips finally met mine. Every suppressed feeling erupted. The emotion I had came rushing to the surface. His kiss was filled with a passion that forced me to confront all feelings I had hidden for years. But intensity of it also scared me. The logical part of me was still fighting, telling me I shouldn't give in. Suddenly, I pulled away, taking a deep breathed word. I whispered, my voice trembling. I wasn't even sure what I wanted to say. Lost in his gaze, I felt my control slipping. My heart pounded as I stepped back, wanting to put space between Uswat. Another word. I hurried toward my bedroom. When I shut the door behind me, it turned to face the mirror. My cheeks were flushed, my eyes brimming with excitement and confusion. My hands were still trembling slightly. "What am I doing?" I whispered to myself. But deep down, there was a voice that couldn't be silenced, a voice driven by an overwhelming desire. It looked at the mirror more closely, listing the faint lines on my face, the hints of age, but then my eyes trailed down to my still firm, youthful body. "Estelle, have it," I murmured, a conflicted smile forming on my lips. Yet somehow that realization only made things more complicated. Just then, I heard the soft creak of the door. It turned around and saw Edward's determined gaze as he stepped inside, head and take his eyes off me as he closed the door behind him and moved closer. "Bella," he said, his voice low, "Salute, I can't let you run away." It looked at him, but I couldn't say nothing. Edward closed the distance between us, and once again his lips pressed against mine. This kiss deepened, not averting, pulling me further into a place I had no control over. My defenses, only by one, were crumbling. I couldn't hold myself back any longer. My hands instinctively reached for his shoulder. Edward wrapped his arms around my waist, pulling me even closer. His warmth enveloped my entire body, and my breathing quickened. His kisses trailed from my lips to my neck and then down to my shoulders. My body, without hesitation, responded to his every touch, yet the intensity of this forbidden desire completely consumed me. I stepped back slightly, not to Run but to catch my breath slowly, I reached for the straps off. My dress sliding them off Miss Holder's, the fabric silently fell tough. Floor pulling at my feet, I glanced her briefly at my reflection in the mirror and felt a surge of courage rise within me. Edward, I whispered, my voice barely audible. I am surrendering to you. Those words lit something in his eyes. A fire that was impossible to ignore. Edward began unbuttoning his shirt, his fingers moving. Quickly, almost impatiently, Wen shrugged it off. Revealing his strong athletic body, my heart raced even fasteras. I watched him take a step closer. Every part of me gravitated toward. Heimdward placed his hands on my waist again, guiding me gently toward the bed. When I laid down, he joined me, his presence filling every space around. Millie's kisses started at my neck, moving down to my shoulders. Further exploring every part of me, with every touch he wakened emotions and passions that had been buried deep inside me. For this moment was the beginning of a night I never could have imagined, and I knew without a doubt that nothing would ever be the same again. Everything washed uponing so fast that my heart felt like it might burst out of my chest. It looked at Edward, unable to hide the confusion and depth of my desire. I never could have dreamed of this, I said breathless, but right now, more than anything, I want this. I am so excited and full of desire. Edward tilted his head slightly, a soft but determined smile spreading across his lips. Bella, he said us. Voice calm yet so deeply captivating, held me in place. We both always wanted this, but every time we ran from it. Not tonight. Tonight we're not running anywhere at that moment. Edward's words shattered the last of my defenses. I no longer cared where this night would take us. I was ready to lose myself in the moment. Something immense surged within, immense, so powerful it made me close my eyes and grab the sheet with one hand and the edge of the bedside table with the other. Intensity of it left me breathless, me eyes remaining shut for 2 or 3 minutes as I tried to focus only on what I was feeling. When I finally opened my eyes and stared at the ceiling, Edward was leaning over me. His hair was disheveled and his forehead glistened lightly with sweat, just as I was thinking, this is perfect. Edward reached out and pressed his hand over mine on the bed. Everything felt like a dream, so surreal yet so vivid. When it glanced toward the mirror and caught sight of both of us in that state, it couldn't hold back any longer. My legs tensed with such an overwhelming force, I felt as if I might faint. This was a desire and passion I had never experienced before, and I was utterly surprised by my own reactions. And then Thor was Edward, so breathtaking, and he could hardly believe he was real. His cheeks were flushed, and he was showering with compliments. My voice trembled as he whispered, Edward, you're incredible. Twelly, I never want this night to end. He could see the excitement in his eyes growing even more. With my other hand, I've reached out and placed it over his chest, feeling the rapid beat of his heart. I've always wanted you, I admitted, barely believing the words myself. I can't believe this is happening. I closed my eyes again, surrendering to the warmth spreading through me. At that exact moment, an intense heat filled my entire being. Edward, his breath uneven, collapsed beside me. Edward sat up with a determined expression on his face and reached for his phone. Turning to me, unlocked the screen with his fingers. Bella, I want to show you something. Hasid. When he turned the phone toward Memi, eyes widened instantly. It was a picture of a cottage by the lake. It's a small, cozy, and peaceful place. Exactly the kind of place I had always dreamed of. I want to take you here. His voice both serious and full of desire, far away from everyone else in this house. Just the two of us. Tomorrow morning, we'll go see this place, and when we're there, I'll ask you to wear something I've chosen for you, because at a night I saw the woman. I've always dreamed of that woman as you, Bella. It's always been you. His words sent a storm through me, and my heart began to race. It looked at him completely at a loss for words. This wasn't just a one-night Storithus, was a doorway to something so much more. And while I didn't know what awaited us beyond that door for the first time, I wasn't afraid, because I wasn't stepping through it alone. There's more to come. And this is only the beginning, if you've made it this far. This story has deeply touched the others, so much more to share. And you won't want to miss a single detail. Don't forget to hit the follow button, turn on notifications, and leave a comment. A Butha story, I can't wait to hear your thoughts. So let's talk in the comments. Your support means the world to.